from the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Practitioner Brief. It's April 14th, 2021. What an awesome day it is. We have a lot of things to talk about on today's show, but we are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Thank you for all of those that are tuning in live. You can comment and subscribe right now. Follow us on social media at the CyberHub podcast, and make sure to subscribe in your favorite podcast listening platform. We have an awesome loaded show today. We'll get right into that, including a recap of Patch Tuesday with Microsoft, Adobe, SAP, Apple, all releasing security patches yesterday. The FBI nukes web shells from Microsoft Exchange servers. The DNI report on cyber threats is out, and it is mind-boggling. The NameWreck vulnerability on over 3 billion IoT devices is here, and it will talk a lot about that as well. And Google patches a under attack 0-day in Chrome, among all the other things we need to talk about today. So today's show is brought to you by our friends over at KnowBe4, Wistic, and Ativo Networks. Thank you so much to them for their support. Few things. One, see that ugly shirt behind me? Let me move my shoulder this way. Yeah. See that ugly shirt right there? If you're watching, if you're not watching, and if you're listening, you should go to cyberhubpodcast.com, go to Practitioner Brief, pull up today's date, or go to YouTube, look up CyberHub Podcast, make sure to subscribe to our channel. You'll see the shirt right behind me. On the Tech Town Square tonight, I'll be donating that shirt as we've hit our first milestone. I started the Wounded Warrior Project fundraiser because of an idea that came on the Tech Town Square show a few weeks ago. And people wanted me out of my traditional black t-shirts and into something ugly and paisley, and that's exactly what I will be wearing tonight. That shirt right behind you on the Tech Town Square at 8 p.m. You're not going to want to miss it. We're currently at $1,820 raised for the Wounded Warrior Project. Thank you so much all for your generosity, for your support of this great organization. The Wounded Warrior Project is really doing some amazing stuff. The link can be found in the description of this podcast, and you can go and donate. Any amount of dollars you donate helps support the Wounded Warrior Project. That gets me closer to wearing more ugly shirts like that. ATP's new CISO Talk podcast drop today in just a few hours with Sam Phillips, head of cybersecurity architecture over at Wells Fargo. It's a preview into my fireside chat with Sam on April 27th for the ATP Cyber FinTech Challenge. You can go now, get your tickets to catch the entire episode there as well. And Tech Corner will be back on Friday with an awesome episode as well. You don't want to miss that. We are back with Tech Corner now and so much more. But before we get started, our ceremonial coffee sip. I can't believe 4 minutes in, I haven't even had a cup of coffee or started talking about what's happening today. Love coffee so much. My traditional double espresso and my beautiful master's cup again. Yeah, I love that. I love golf. I mean, I do. But let's get right into Microsoft's Patch Tuesday recap that fixes 108 flaws, including 5 0-days. So be nice to your IT people if they seem really, really stressed out, your system admins, your patch management team. Buy them lunch today. Get them a bottle of scotch, beer. I'm not encouraging people to drink, but nonetheless, reward them because these folks have been so busy dealing with so much stuff that they deserve a little bit of our support. So buy your IT people pizza today. Okay, just saying, or order them sushi or get them sandwiches from Publix. I don't know. Get them something, man. These guys are working around the clock. So here's the deal. 5 vulnerabilities were patched yesterday that were publicly disclosed, with 1 known to be used in attacks. To make matters worse, Microsoft fixed 4 more critical Microsoft Exchange vulnerabilities that the NSA discovered. The 5 0-day vulnerabilities that were fixed were CVE 2021-270901, 28312, 28437, and 28458, all within the either RPC endpoint mapper service, the Windows NTFC denial of service vulnerabilities, the Windows installer information disclosure vulnerability, which is aka Polar Bear, and the Azure MS REST node authorization library elevation of privileges we spoke about a little bit earlier this week. CV 2021-28310, which was also patched, is a Win32K elevation of privilege vulnerability as well. Kaspersky talked about that as well, and it was being utilized by a bitter APT group. NSA discovered 4 Microsoft Exchange vulnerabilities, reported them to Microsoft. Those have been patched with the following CVEs. CVE 2021-28480, 28481, 28482, and 28483. Make sure to get those patches as well. Adobe has released security updates for Adobe Creative Cloud, FrameMaker, and Connect. Android security update were released last week. Apple released a GarageBand security update, but has not provided details as to what they have fixed. Cisco released their security updates for numerous products, and the SAP released its April 2021 security updates as well. You can see the list here on Bleeping Computer. You can find this link on our website at cyberhubpodcast.com if you need it at any point period in time. The FBI nukes web shells from hacked servers without even telling the owners. This, folks, is significant in multiple ways. So one, a court-approved FBI operation was conducted to remove web shells from compromised US-based Microsoft Exchange servers without first notifying the server's owners. On March 2nd, Microsoft, when it released a series of Microsoft Exchange security updates for vulnerability that have been actively exploited by a hacking group known as Hafnium, which is attributed to China. These vulnerabilities are collectively known as proxy logon and were used by threat actors in January and February to install web shells on compromised Exchange servers. Over the following weeks, government agencies released guidance. Microsoft released a variety of scripts and tools to help victims determine if they'd been compromised and remove web shells. Simultaneously, FBI and the DOJ released a PR yesterday that essentially said that the FBI used a search warrant to access the still compromised Exchange servers, copy the web shells as evidence, and then remove the web shells from the server. The FBI requested this warrant because they believe that the owners of the still compromised web servers did not have the technical ability to remove them on their own, and that the shells posed a significant risk to the victim. Very interesting. Accordingly, the United States requests approval from the court in the warrant to delay notification until May 9th, 2021, 30 days from the first possible date of execution on April 9th, 2021, or until the FBI determines that there is no longer a need for delayed notice, whichever is sooner. Because accessing such computers at all times will allow the government to minimize the likelihood of the actor's detection and deployment of countermeasures that could frustrate the authorized search. Good cause exists to permit the execution of the requested warrant at any time in the day or night. FBI personnel will access the web shells, enter passwords, and make an evidentiary copy of the web shells, and then issue a command through each of the approximate web shells to the servers to delete the web shells themselves. How do you feel about this, folks? I don't know how I feel about this. I really don't know how I feel about this. I don't. But I'd be curious to know how any of you feel about this. If you don't mind commenting on this video and in today's episode, and let me know. I'm really curious. The U.S. intel community details destructive capabilities and growing influence threats in the cyber realm. The new report by the Office of the ODNI was made public and was declassified yesterday to Congress. The intelligence community has now wholeheartedly supported the idea that it was Russia that was behind the software supply chain attack that started with SolarWinds and then escalated. What's very interesting here is they highlight some nation states. This is very Russia-focused, and I don't know, it's because Cyberscoop tends to be more of a Russia-focused publication. They have this kind of like hard-on with Russia, for that, but they tend to always want to talk about Russia and not so much about Iran, China, North Korea, and others. To me, Russia poses as a threat. China is a greater threat. That is in my humble opinion. But what do I know? I'm just a practitioner. But Russia and China both, according to the report, both possess the capability to run cyber attacks that encompass potentially damaging and destructive operations. While China can launch cyber attacks. They claim that Russia has demonstrated it can cause damages to infrastructure during a crisis. This, of course, is Russia targeting the Ukraine, Estonia. It has a history. It's never targeted really the U.S. with those types of attacks. It typically sticks to the former CIS countries. They speak a little bit about foreign influence on elections and propaganda campaigns with, allegedly Russia wanting to derail President Biden's election and Iran trying to derail the re-election of President Donald J. Trump. The efforts was likely just the beginning for Iranian influence operations targeting U.S. elections. That's why Iran should be dealt with harshly at this time. Israel is starting to get it out there, and I urge the State Department as they negotiate with the Iranian mullahs. You can't negotiate with countries that cheer for your death and leaders call you the big Satan and have been doing it for 40 years and expect any agreement to be honored by those people. That's just a fallacy. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather. As you can tell, my voice is I'm a bit stuffed, so I apologize. China's cyber espionage operations have included compromising telecom providers of MSPs and broadly used softwares. They really do highlight China's espionage. They also talk about China's surveillance of foreign descent, particularly of Uyghur Muslims who are now in concentration camps in Western China, being brainwashed in these re-education camps. So they talk a little bit about that, and it's good to see that in the report as well. They talk slightly about North Korea, and we'll see more of this report. We'll talk a little bit more about this report tonight on the Tech Town Square, so make sure you tune in at 8 p.m. tonight for that. Let's talk about this last vulnerability here, folks. At least 100 million devices have been affected by the NameWreck DNS flaw in TCP and IP stacks. The popular TCP IP stacks are affected by a series of domains here, collectively called NameWreck and identified in the DNS implementation of FreeBSD, NucleusNet, IPNet, and NetX. The flaws could also be abused to perform denial of service attacks, execute code remotely, and take devices offline. The bugs were identified as part of Project Memoria, a research initiative aimed at improving the overall security of IoT devices, which have already resulted in finding of more than 40 issues in popular TCP and IP stacks, critical components providing basic network connectivity for a wide range of devices. This includes Amnesia 33, Numberjack, Ripple 20, and Urgent 11. NetX, FreeBSD, and Siemens NucleusNet are estimated to have a deployment base of roughly 10 billion devices, yet not all of them are affected. However, the research points out that should 1% of these devices be vulnerable, their number would still be above 100 million. Folks, this is significant. The widespread use of these stacks is often external exposure to vulnerable DNS clients leads to dramatically increased attack surface. The research is further indication that the community should fix DNS problems that we believe are more widespread than we currently know, according to ForcePoint. Because of this search and the NameWreck name, Siemens has already released several advisories targeting their Nucleus 4, NucleusNet, Nucleus RTOS, and Nucleus Ready Start, as well as vStar, and as well as the Nucleus source code. Siemens details all of this right here on their website, and you can see a lot more information about the different vulnerabilities and their CVSS score, including the 9.8 for the several buffer overflow vulnerabilities in web server of the Scalance X200, multiple NTP vulnerabilities in the TIM4R IE devices, and 9.9 multiple vulnerabilities in the control center server, all available, and a 10 disclosure of private data. Folks, so a ton of very critical vulnerabilities existing. Siemens already addressing it, talking about mitigation right on their website. This link can be found at cyberhubpodcast.com, and you can get it there as well. And finally, Google patches more under attack. Chrome 0 days. Google's problem appears to be multiplying, according to the report. The latest confirmation of this appears today with a new Chrome point update to patch a pair of security vulnerabilities affecting Windows, macOS, and Linux users. Google said it was aware of the reports that both of these vulnerabilities, CVE 2021-21206 and 21220, are being exploited in the wild. and this has become a normal thing for Google. The patch has been released. Make sure to get your patches done today, folks. That's it for our practitioner brief today. 8 p.m. today. Eddie's off today. He's off the grid. Joining me will be the legendary David Vaughn. David Vaughn and I will be talking about cyber warfare, this DNI report, and so much more on tonight's Tech Square. So make sure to tune in. I'll be wearing this ugly paisley shirt for tonight's show. You don't want to miss it. Be there. It's going to be a blast. 8 p.m. tonight on my personal LinkedIn page or on the CyberHub podcast YouTube page. Go there, subscribe, turn on your notifications to be notified every time we go live. We'll also be live on Facebook tonight. So go and follow the CyberHub podcast page on Facebook. That's it for us here today, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in. It was a long one, but we had a lot to cover today. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for staying with us. Please make sure to comment. I want to know what you guys think of the FBI nuking web shells from hacked servers without the owners actually knowing. Very interesting. Very interesting. Something we'll probably also debate tonight on the Tech Town Square. That's it for us here, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in. Stay healthy, i.e., don't get a cold, and stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.